Hi, welcome. I am Mia Barrett. I helped create Fantasy Sports Math League. We've got BA here, who also is the director of Fantasy Sports Math League, and Kalin. Kalin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kalin Ramsey, founder and CEO of Krux Design, and I also helped out with Fantasy Sports Math League. Yeah.
Didn't just help out. You've helped with so much. So can you tell me what makes you excited about Fantasy Sports Math League right now?
What I'm most excited about is really just getting it out there. Launch day is right around the corner, and students are going to be logging in and be able to uh, interact with this really cool platform that we spent a lot of time and a lot of love and effort putting together. Um, like Mia said, I helped out in, making it look good, work well, and I'm really proud of what we've put together as a team, and I can't wait for other people to get their hands on it.
Are there any parts of it that you're most proud of or excited about? I know you've done so much work and had your hands in so many parts of it. Any section that you're like, this feels really good.
For me, I was most excited about the recreation of our drafting interface. We've really taken it to the next step by adding, player photos along with their team, their IDs. We've been working really, really hard on getting all that data um, put together in a way that makes sense and is very easily legible. I really liked how we were able to take those selections and format them in a way where, you have hundreds of players to choose from. We simplify it down to, of those hundreds, which ones did you select? It still looks good and reads well. We've compressed that into a mathematical equation that reads well, and it's just such a really intuitive process. And for me, that was the most exciting thing to work on. It was very complex. It was a huge overhaul from what it was originally, and I think we knocked it out of the park altogether.
Kaylin, I think one of the special things that you bring to this project is that you have such an eye for color and design as your background in graphic design, and then you layer that on with all of your understanding of coding and development and just web design and web backend functionality. So I think that that magic mix not only shows in the draft page, but I think really where that comes through is in the my players page. And I wonder if you could share like your thoughts on the my players page redesign that you did.
Oh, the My Players, and thank you for all the kind words to start with, but yeah, the My Players page was really interesting as well. I wanted to integrate each user's team colors in a way that, again, like you said, everything I do visually has to be appealing to me first and foremost. The composition, the layout of every element, and the interaction between the user and the component, I think it's all part of a really important process in the user experience. What I'm really proud of with the My Players page is integrating synchronous scrolling across multiple horizontal lists. As the weeks progress in this game, we're populating each player's scores um, in a list that grows exponentially over a course of 18 weeks, essentially. Uh, it was really frustrating previously to have to scroll through each player's list if I want to reference their previous data from say week one. I have to scroll through week one and then go to the next player, scroll through week one. And it was really cool for me to figure out how to get them all to scroll at the same time. So we've got if you want to see week one information for all players, you just scroll one time and everything updates automatically. So we really simplified the user experience that way. And that was a lot of fun to put together as well.
Yeah, it functions beautifully. I'm curious so you have a background in UX, and clearly in Fantasy Sports Math League, you have improved our UX immensely. How do you center the learner's experience when you're making design choices? Because I've seen you come and show the work that you've done, and I've seen the end result, but I don't necessarily know what your thought process is behind the decisions that you're making, and I'd love to like get a little peek into that.
Oh, well, that's a really good question. I think for me, uh, it comes from, years of experience. I've been, like you said, I started off with graphic design and UI UX design early on in my career for about 7 years. And as a result of that, I always have the end user at the forefront of my mind. Everything I build is not with the intention of how would I like it to work, but I try to think in a mindset of someone who doesn't really know what things are supposed to do, how they're supposed to work, and I make it work for that person. I want it to be as intuitive, as simple. I want to take complex systems and make them easily digestible for a modern audience. Um, and that's really the focus of like that's where my mind is most of the time in these designs. Obviously I want things to look good. I want things to be formatted properly. I take hierarchy of scale very seriously. Most important information organized the way it needs to be, but also the interactions. And keeping in mind how user expectations evolve over time. I want things to be a little bit more smooth, so I'll add maybe some slight animations. I want things to be obvious when people are hovering or selecting certain elements that they're doing something. I want them to be able to get that visual feedback without needing to interact in a specific way that I know they need to interact in order to make it work. I want it to be obvious to them that they can interact with it in that way before they know that they have to. And again, it's just a couple of different layers going into that whole process that I try to keep in mind most of the time. Yeah.
So you've done a lot of work in a number of sort of realms, including ed tech and the ed tech that we've done at DFUSION. You've been involved with a lot of that with different audiences. Are there different approaches or thoughts that go into designing something or working in the back end with something when it's ed tech versus the other sorts of projects that you work on?
Ed tech versus other projects. I feel like a lot of the projects I can work on with Diffusion tend to be a bit more flexible than other projects I've worked on in the past, which may have been more corporate in nature, more structured. Diffusion, we're putting together essentially games. We're gamifying experiences. So that tends to lend itself a lot. It tends to lend a lot of creative flexibility in terms of color usage, in terms of layout, in terms of hierarchy, and in terms of interaction. Whereas a lot of corporate elements are very strict and rigid and seemingly forced a lot of the times. Diffusion makes things flexible and fun. Um, we can turn a button into a football if we want, or we can turn it back. We can just have a little good time with everything. Like one of the elements we put together recently, that weekly task tracker where we have like a little football that animates as you progress into like one field goal into the next. And it's like that's an amazing little progress bar. Who's ever seen anything like that before? And we get to put stuff like that together. So there is definitely a difference between ed tech and corporate technology. Um, and I've got to say, ed tech wins my heart every time.
A lot more fun. What would be like the dream project for you to work on? Do you have like a fantasy dream project that you are manifesting?
Well, yeah, I've always had an idea for a video game that I'd love to put together. Just uh, MMORPG, and I think it's just been like my dream ever since going to college for like I went to school for video game production. And this game in particular has been in my mind ever since. Just every once in a while, I'll find myself fantasizing about little elements and components that I'd like to put into it. I'll just be sketching out ideas for characters and storylines, and that it's one of those things that I think about all the time, and it's just a great way to spend time, getting away in my own little fantasy world and imagining my own character in my head running around and interacting with this wonderful magical world. And uh, kind of like what we're doing with Fantasy Sports Math League is I want to get it to a point where other people can experience that as well. So it's just something I've been, thinking about, working on in the background for a number of years, and hopefully one of these days will come together.
I hope so too. That sounds great. Okay, my last question, unless BA's got one. I'd love to hear about Krux Design because I actually don't know that much about the company that you are the CEO of.
And that's a fair point. It is a fairly new company, founded in March of this year, 2025. And a lot of it is, the mission behind Krux Design is kind of what I'm doing with DFUSION is I want to help small to medium-sized businesses build their social media exposure, marketing, SEO, graphic design. I want to help them with their branding initiatives. I want to help them build their projects. A lot of, small business owners might have an idea, but they might not have the tools or resources or knowledge to execute it. And that's where I'd like to step in and help them out and get from point A to point B.
Well, you've gotten us from field goal to field goal, so thank you for that.
It's a touchdown.
A touchdown.
Go
It's
team.
been fun every step of the way.
Thanks,
Okay.
Kalin.
Thank you, Kalin. Thanks for helping Fantasy Sports Math League and all the other work that you've done at DFUSION.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Mia and BA.